Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my market outlook video for the third week of December 2019. And I apologize for not posting any videos this past weekend. I was dealing with the last bit of finals as well as a bunch of applications to both grad school and jobs. But we're back, and now that it's winter break, I'll be posting a lot more regularly. But anyway, going on with the video, looking at the big picture from IBD, it is overall positive with, of course, the indexes gaining a bunch of percentage points this past week. They talk about how on October 15th, they changed their mindsets and their market outlook from a uptrend under pressure to an uptrend resumes. And since then, the market has been doing very, very well. They also highlight a few different stocks, such as NMIH, which is very good fundamentally. And they talk about the proper buy point, which was on the reversal on the week ending 12/6. And I think it's very important to note that this is also probably a Bollinger Band bounce, and we'll actually check that in just a bit in TC2000. But it's always interesting to see how different methods line up and work together. They also go ahead and talk about a couple different stocks and identify why they didn't work. So they talk about HEI and how if you didn't actually have a proper buy point, it was not a good investment. And they also talk about TGT, which has been doing very, very well this past year relative to JCPenney. So that is the big picture from IBD. And looking at wishingwealthblog.com, you can see that since October 16th, the GMI signal has been green and the market has been doing quite well. And it's also kind of interesting to note that, so you can see the GMI signal turned green on October 16th, and on October 15th is when IBD changed from an uptrend under pressure to an uptrend resume. So it's kind of cool how those kind of coordinate with each other. And also looking at the red, white, blue chart, you can see that we are in a clear red, white, blue pattern. And the market indexes are doing quite well. The GMI score is a 6 out of 6, and the GMI2 is a 7 out of 8. So I think this is a fine time to be investing and looking for individual stocks as well. Looking at the indexes themselves, you can see we had a very strong Friday with an uptick in volume. There were a lot of options expiring, so that could be a reason for the uptick in volume. But you can see that for the past really 2 weeks, we've been increasing very steadily. And last Thursday and last Friday had very strong days with the close higher than the open and also increased volume as well. And you can see that the QQQ is currently above its 4-day, 10-day, and 30-day and 50-day moving averages. So all very good things there. The SPY will have pretty much the exact same pattern. However, it did have a weaker final day on this past Friday. Looking at the daily chart of the SPY, you can see this clear red, white, blue pattern that shows it's an okay time to be investing in individual names. And also, if we go to the QQQ, you'll see the same exact pattern. And I want to highlight that there is a strategy that you can use with the leveraged TQQQ or another leveraged ETF. If you invest right when the red, white, blue pattern starts occurring and then sell when the pattern dissolves, this can lead to excellent returns, especially in times when the patterns are very clear. So this year it has been very clear, but obviously that's not always the case. But if you use the TQQQ and did this method this year, it would have been very, very successful. You can see just here you would have a gain of 31%, then probably about 10%. And now since the red, white, blue pattern just occurred once again, you would have gained another 34%. So this can be very effective, and I've started using this method myself and kind of allocating 1/5 of my portfolio to do this. So that's just another option for you. So looking at now the IWM, the small cap index ETF, you can see we're also in a clear red, white, blue pattern. Looking at the normal chart, you can see again a big uptick in volume this past Friday, and overall it's finally above this level that had been kind of consolidating behind. So I think that's a good thing. The small caps are involved as well. Now looking at the FFTY, the Innovator IBD 50 ETF, you can see that it's been kind of going sideways for the past couple weeks, even though the indexes have been doing quite well. So this could mean that it's ready for a pop with this Bollinger Band squeeze this past week, but it's just something to keep in mind that growth stocks tend to follow this ETF. So now that we've talked about the relevant indexes and ETFs, let's go ahead and look at a couple individual names. So first, let's look at NMIH, which IBD talked about in their big picture article. And just as I thought, this was a Bollinger Band bounce when it had that reversal. So kind of analyzing this, on Tuesday, 12/3, it opened here, fell all the way to this low down here at around 31, and then recovered all the way and closed higher than the open. And that's a very positive reversal. And you can see that this triggered a Bollinger Band bounce entry on the next day because the low of that day or the previous day was below the Bollinger Band and it closed higher than the previous close. So this could have been a possible low risk entry, and then you had the green dot just a couple days later. And the reason that this is a low risk entry is because on this day, if it closes below this Bollinger Band, you know that the setup has failed. And that's the key. You want to know when your setup that you're using has failed, because that means you know when you need to take a loss, and it will be a small loss because this to this is not a large difference. And that's the key. Keep your losses as small as you can. So now let's go ahead and look at the stocks that are currently in my portfolio. PLMR, I initially entered here, wrote it up for about a 20% gain, sold my shares during these 2 down days, and since then I've re-entered, I believe on this green dot, and you can see that on this Friday it had a really nice pop on above average volume. You can see about 5 times the daily 50-day average volume. So this is a very strong fundamental stock, and until it gives me a reason to not be invested in it, I will have a position. AMD is also a stock that I entered on this day, on this big pop on volume, and so far it's been trending higher and doing quite well. You can see that it had kind of an IBD entry right here when it broke through the previous high of the last few weeks after really tightening up on this right hand side. Rita is a potential power play move, and you can see that on this day it popped up 56%, trended higher for a little bit, and then had been tightening up very, very closely on this right hand side. You can see a bunch of Bollinger Band constrictions right here, and I entered at around this point because of such a tight range of the Bollinger Bands. And since then it had a nice pop on Tuesday 12/17 of about 5%, and since then has been going a little bit sideways. VCTR is another very strong fundamental stock that is just kind of going sideways at the moment. I believe I entered on this day on above average volume, and since then it trended higher, then kind of has been going sideways and dropped down a little bit. But again, the setup has not failed yet, so I'm still invested in this stock. Aries has been trending higher since this cup and handle entry right here, and again, it is a very strong fundamental growth name. And the last ticker that I'm invested in is the TQQQ, which, as I mentioned just previously, I'm going to hold until the red, white, blue pattern on the daily Guppy chart breaks down. So you can see how successful this has been this past year, and just in this run alone, it's been up 30%. I don't own it from 30% ago, but I did buy it around here. So this is a very effective strategy if you can identify the trend of the overall market. So that is my video for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please, if you enjoy my content and enjoy this video, leave a like down below. It helps a lot. And also, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in future videos.